Hey, everyone, and welcome once again to Pickswise Playbook. It is week number 6. I'm your host, Chris Rose, joined as always by our gambling expert, Jared Smith, and our 7-year NFL offensive lineman with 5 different teams, Ross Tucker, who is, you can always tell how Ross did the previous week based on his gear. If he did great, he's like, yeah, I'm Mr. Pickswise. And if not, I'm just generic T-shirt guyer.
Actually, I got to be honest with you. Totally forgot about the Pickswise shirt, and I have to leave immediately when we're done doing the show. So it's fine. But you're right. I had a bad week. I am mad at a bunch of teams that are blowing up my round robin teasers. So I only have one teaser this week. The good thing about a bad week, though, when you have my track record, I'm destined to have a bounce back week. Like, if you're going to follow me this week, because it is a bounce back week for your boy.
Love it. It's laundry day, I guess. That's the only explanation.
Okay, guys. Here's our goal. We want to make each and every Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night really fun for you. And how do we do that? We want to make you a smarter better out there. You take the numbers that Jared throws out there, you take the experience that Ross has had inside the trenches, you mesh the two, and hopefully we're going to have a big old party on you at the end of the year. You just better invite us, okay? But give us a date because Ross's schedule gets very booked up.
It's tough.
So make sure you send it out now just so he can pencil you in at some point. We're going to cover all the big games this week, all the primetime games, check our teasers, which Ross is obviously mad at certain teams about, and hopefully he won't be as angry next week when you join us. But we got a lot of ground to cover. And let's start with one of the more interesting games in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. You've got the lone undefeated team in the NFL, the 5-0 Arizona Cardinals, who are 5-0 for the first time since. Any guesses?
It's like 74.
For Warner?
Yes, 74.
Wow.
Somebody's a big old Jim Hart, Terry Metcalf, Roger Worley, Dan Deerdorf fan. That would be you, Ross Tucker. Good job.
I just heard somebody else say it. I can't take any credit for that whatsoever.
Oh, okay. That's all right. And once again, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down on all the cool host notes that I'm going to give today. Because I know
I like that one. You know what I like about that one? How old are you, Chris, that you could name that many guys from the 74 St. Louis Cardinals?
Yeah, I was 3 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm kind of a freaky football fan, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, evidently.
Okay, so the Cards are the only unbeaten team here, Jared, and they're getting points on the road against a banged-up Browns bunch?
Doesn't make sense, right? Look ahead line, have to, right? It was Cleveland -3 last week, and it reopened 2.5 on Sunday, and that was a little surprising to me because if you watch Sunday's games, Arizona looked pretty good. Cleveland looked okay, defensively not great. Maybe Justin Herbert certainly a little bit involved there. But I would say if it was 3, I think the Sharps probably would have gobbled that up a lot quicker on Sunday. Now we're starting to hear some of the injury news for Arizona. Today it was Rodney Hudson. It was Chandler Jones a little bit earlier in the week with COVID. You heard about Max Williams. He's having a career year. He's out for the season. So now you can kind of start to paint the narrative of why the books are going to move this from 3, 2.5, and now it's back to 3. I don't think it's going to go back down to 2.5, which means the Cardinals are going to be getting a full 3 points, an undefeated Cardinals team on Sunday against the Browns. To me, that means the book is kind of giving you a sell high indicator on Arizona. It's a tricky spot. Your eyes tell you the Cardinals as an underdog deserve your money, but I think the sports books, the line movement, the analysis is telling you Cleveland is going to win this game. So I'm on the Browns. I think this is a tough spot because, again, your eyes do tell you that the Cardinals are playing better, but the line analysis tells me Cleveland.
So here's what I would say, okay? If you can find Cleveland -2.5 somewhere over the next couple of days, if it goes back down, then I would like Cleveland -2.5. If it gets back up to 3, I think you start to lean more to Arizona. I mean, that half point makes that much of a difference. But let me say this too. This is just the way the NFL works, okay? The Arizona Cardinals are not going undefeated. They're a good team. They're not going undefeated. The Cleveland Browns, I think, are a really good team. I don't envision them losing 2 games in a row. They're playing at home. This is just a spot bet. This is just a spot where it's like the Browns are going to win this game because that's just kind of how the NFL works. The Browns are too good to lose 2 in a row. The Cardinals aren't good enough to just keep winning every week. This would be the game that they would lose.
By the way, the Browns, you are right, Ross Tucker, have not lost 2 in a row under Kevin Stefanski as of yet.
Now that's a thumbs up nugget right there.
Hey, I got to ask you this, Chris, real quick, because I know you're a Browns guy. I think this is important. 91 seconds left.
Stop.
Browns down 5.
Stop.
Did you think Baker Mayfield, in your heart of hearts, did you think Baker was going to take the Browns down for a touchdown? The only reason why I say that is because I thought, no, I don't think he's going to. I like Baker. I think he's a good quarterback. But if it was Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or even the other guy, Justin Herbert, I think 91 seconds, this guy's going down for a touchdown. But with Baker, I just didn't feel that way. I just didn't think he would get it done.
Ross, they got 12 yards in 3 plays and didn't stop the clock at the beginning of that drive. It was check down Charlie. Yep. That's not what you can do. The Browns, if they're going to win, and this is important for bettors out there, if they're going to win, they have to have a lead late and not a guy on the other side of the football that can rip your heart out. That's just kind of the Cleveland narrative.
Kyler Murray?
No matter. Yeah, right. Although he hasn't done it a ton outside of, the Hail Murray that he had last year. I don't think he's had a ton of games where he has come back. So maybe we see that happen. I don't know.
The yards per play numbers favor Cleveland. The DVOA numbers, favor Cleveland a little bit. Mm-hmm. The numbers, the analytics favor Cleveland. The line analysis favors Cleveland. If you got 2.5 earlier in the week, I don't think you're going to get any more 2.5s. I think the Hudson injury today cemented the 3. The 3, I think, is kind of the drop even point now. I think if it went to 3.5, you'd get so much Arizona money that the sports books will not do that. But I think this line's going to be kind of frozen at 3 throughout the week. That would be my guess.
You should have seen Ross's eyes light up just a little bit when you started talking about a Pro Bowl center, affecting
he
the
matters.
line.
He matters a lot.
You talk to professional bettors, and they will tell you that almost nobody affects the spread other than the quarterback, really. Mm-hmm. But the center, can be like a half a point, believe it or not.
Especially in an offense like Arizona that's so good at running the ball and that has been so adept at it against good defenses, which Cleveland is. So I'm worried about the drop-off there and how Arizona's running game. What did they went off for over 200 yards against the Rams. I don't think that's going to happen on Sunday. I think Cleveland's going to hold them in check.
All right, interesting. Let's move on. Packers and Bears. And don't look now, but the Justin Fields-led Chicago Bears are 3-2. And they're taking on an Aaron Rodgers team that it looked like they should have been up by 10 or 14 points against the Bengals. And all of a sudden they're playing, let's miss a kick left and right. It's a new game show that's sweeping the entire nation. Let's play you miss a kick. It was fascinating stuff out there. 203rd all-time meeting between these two rivals. Ross, let's start with you. Aaron Rodgers consistently lights up Chicago. Will it happen again this week? And if so, would you lean toward the Packers because of it?
Yeah, I think it probably will. And I'll lean to the Packers because their defense is playing better than I thought they would. Now, they're pretty beat up, man.
Is that an endorsement of Joe Barry?
Yeah.
That's breaking news right there.
They're doing a better job, especially without their 2 best defensive players. So Darius Smith and Jair Alexander. It was impressive, I thought, what they did against the Bengals. Now, there was a zillion missed kicks, but still, I've got a lot of faith in Aaron Rodgers always, especially against the Bears. And I know the Bears beat the Raiders and looked impressive doing it, but I just have to think that the Raiders were not in the right frame of mind for that game after what happened and what came out about John Gruden. Justin Fields still looks to me like he's not quite there yet. I don't envision Justin Fields at this stage being able to beat Aaron Rodgers at his stage and where he's at. I don't love the number. This is probably a stay away for me, but I guess I would lay it with Green Bay if I had to play it.
Yeah, it is a stay away too. And the reason why it's really a stay away, there has not been 1 ounce of market movement here, which is kind of like you're a captain of a ship flying, like driving a ship without a radar. Like, you don't know which way the market's going at all. Open 4.5, still 4.5. Public's on Green Bay. I would imagine if they moved it to 5 or, anywhere north of that, that's when the Chicago money would start to fly in. And if it went probably to 4, that's when the Green Bay money would come in. I think the books are kind of in no man's land with this line. But I would lean Chicago with the points just because I think Chicago's defense has been playing pretty well, at least according to the numbers they have. But I can't fade Aaron Rodgers at home against a divisional opponent, especially if the line is under a touchdown. That to me is kind of, maybe 6 is where I would get involved with Chicago, but it will not get there.
I believe this game's in Chicago, though.
Oh, it is. Oh, well, then maybe the home dog then, maybe a little bit. But I think 4.5 is a no man's land number. If it moved to 5 or 5.5, I'd consider Chicago. But I don't think it's going to move there.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, first time he's ever going to face a Bears rookie quarterback in this one. I know they're on opposite, they don't ever face each other, but you understand what I'm talking about, square off. Brett Favre, his predecessor, 0 for 2 all-time against Bears rookie quarterbacks. Lost to Kyle Orton. Lost to Cade McNown, who I think is still parked in a handicap spot somewhere on UCLA's campus. Ross, I didn't even get a chuckle out of you on that one.
I smirked. I like that reference. I remember that reference. I remember the Cade McNown. Didn't he have we won't get into it. No. His wife or girlfriend at one point was also something that we could reference.
He says we're not going to get into it, and then he gets.
And then we start getting into it. That's my fault for parking in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
the Pickswise lot. My apologies. All right,
VIP only for you, Chris.
Chargers and Ravens. What a juicy game! Just if you're a football fan, you want to sink your teeth into it, and if you want to, put a little money on it. Boy, it could be really, really exciting stuff. We already talked about the LA Chargers. They're come from behind against Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. Now they got to fly all the way across country. They've got an early start time in Baltimore, which had to come back from, 2 touchdowns down basically on Monday night to upend the Colts. It's probably the best game Lamar Jackson has ever played. They're a home favorite, right around a field goal. Jared is, you're smart. I don't even know what look that is. I
just saw a number in this game that interested me a little bit towards Baltimore. The Chargers have been really bad against the run this year.
Terrible.
Yeah, really bad. 31st in DVOA. I mean, I'm sure Ross can confirm that with what he's seeing, in the trenches. But I know Baltimore's on a short week, and I know the hook has evaporated here. I saw 3.5 at a couple of very smaller shops this week, but now it's 3. It looks like it's 3 across the board, and I would assume it closes there. If the Chargers struggle against the run, the Ravens could have a big day because they haven't really exercised. They haven't flexed that muscle a whole lot yet this year. And I think because Lamar has been so adept at passing, especially recently, the teams might start to back off a little bit and give him a little more respect, which then would, of course, open up the running game. So that's going to be a key matchup for me this week. Stay away to me because, again, not a lot of market movement on either side. But if I had to play it, if you can find a 3 in the hook, I would take the Chargers. But if not, I think this line's about right.
I'm going with the Chargers, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I don't think the Ravens are really playing that great. Lamar Jackson's playing out of his mind. They just let Carson Wentz throw for over 400 yards against them on Monday night. If they don't miss an extra point, then go for 2, get a field goal blocked, get another field goal missed, the Colts win that game. It is a short week. They're coming off an overtime game. Justin Herbert, I think, is significantly better than Carson Wentz at this point. And you're going to give me points? I think this game could go either way, probably 50-50 down the split between who wins it. So if you're going to give me 3 points, I'm going to take the Chargers, Justin Herbert, and those 3 points. Besides, anytime it's 4th down, 4th and 26, okay? Yep. Brandon Staley will go for it, and Herbert will throw a 28-yard pass to Keenan Allen. I've never seen a game before where it's like 4th and 8. Brandon Staley was like, do the Herbert to Keenan Allen play, and the Browns are like, I can't believe it. They threw it to Keenan Allen on 4th down again. It's crazy. 8
attempts on 4th down. They converted 7 of them. That's like pressing the hard ways and craps.
I think Brandon Staley. I honestly think Brandon Staley changing the NFL. At one point the Golden State Warriors or teams are just like, you know what?
Yeah.
We should shoot way more threes. It just the math works out. The math works out to go for it on 4th down a lot more than people realize.
Yep.
All right, 2 other quick things before we move on from this game. The Arizona Cardinals, we talked about them traveling to Cleveland. Theirs is a late kick. It's a 4:05 local time, so they're still on the same West Coast body clock. The Chargers have to travel a little further from LA to Baltimore, but they get the early kick window. Ross, does that affect players at all?
Some guys say that it does. I was never on a West Coast team, so I can't speak to that. I've never heard a guy saying going east to west has an impact. Some people will tell you west to east, although you know what? In recent years, Chris, you look at the stats for the 49ers and some of these teams, they've crushed it on the 10 a.m. body clock games. I don't know if they figured out something different or if they come out on Fridays. I don't know what they do, but it doesn't seem like that's the issue it was a few years ago.
We talked to odds makers about this, Chris, and they specifically said travel, nutrition, all of those things are more advanced now than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. These guys, their bodies, their schedules, their routines, they keep them on a very strict, routine, itinerary when they're traveling, and it's not as big of an impact. Home field, that's why home field advantage is now only maybe 1.5, 2 points instead of 3, and the travel just is not as impactful.
Okay, real quickly, Ravens win total right now at 11.5. They already got 4 in the bank. Just real quickly, give me 15 seconds on each. Ross, starting with you. You like the overplay there or not?
I would have to look at their schedule more, but that's a good number. I don't have a strong opinion either way. I think they're an 11-12 win team. I'm right down the middle.
I lean over. Chargers, Bengals, Vikings, Dolphins, Bears, next 5 weeks. They can go 3-2, 4-1 in that stretch and get to 8. And then down the stretch is tough. Browns twice. They have a 2-week stretch against the Browns, sandwiched in between with the Steelers, then Packers, Bengals, Rams, Steelers to close the year. They got a tough gauntlet down the stretch, but they can get to 7 or 8 wins by the midway point, no doubt.
It's really weird. The Browns, actually, you bring them up, they play the Ravens in consecutive games separated by a bye.
I think another team did that last year. It might have been a New York team. I think it might have been the Jets. I have to look into it, but that's interesting.
If you still cared about your team, you would have known that.
Wait,
Giving up.
Is it the Jets? Jack maybe can look into it during when we're doing this.
Jack's
I thought it was
producer for those of you scoring.
Tremendous producer. Going to give him a lot of credit for these nuggets.
Ross, if I'm not mistaken, you talked about being all pissy at the top of the show about your teaser play. I think one of the teams you're upset with was the Minnesota Vikings. Is that correct?
No, believe it or not, they were one of the ones that came through. Luckily, after Alexander Madison fumbled, they somehow got down, and Greg Joseph made the kick, so they won by 2, and I had teased them down to -1.5. So the Vikings actually came through for me.
Okay. Wow.
The Viking and the Ravens, it was the Seahawks, it was Washington, it was a bunch of other teams I can't stand right now because they blew it. But, no, not the Vikings.
Okay, my apologies. I take that all back. We love the Minnesota Vikings on this show, apparently. They are at Carolina. So Carolina's lost 2 straight after a 3-0 start. This is it's very close to an even line, right, is the way we're looking at it.
Last I saw, Chris, it was Carolina getting 1.5 at home, which is crazy because when I looked at this yesterday, Carolina was laying 1.5.
Yeah.
And I liked the Vikings as a teaser up to 7.5. The line has switched 3 points in about 24 hours.
Okay, real quickly. So, Jared, we need you to explain why something like this would happen. Help us out.
So it's not very uncommon when the lines are this short. Crossing 0 is not a big deal in the NFL. If it gets to 2.5, 3, then it becomes a big deal. So if a line starts Carolina +1, closes Carolina -3, that's a significant move. +1 to -1, it happens a lot from all the bookmakers. We say it doesn't take a lot. And another clarification, it's not the amount of money that moves the market. It's who the bets come from. And that is people don't understand that fully.
What does that mean?
Person A, who's a sharp bettor with an established reputation at a sharp book like the Superbook, Westgate out in Vegas, could bet $100 on a line and the sportsbook will move at a point. Person B, who's a novice public guy with a stack of cash, $100,000, could bet the same line and it doesn't move an inch. It's about who makes the bets. That's what really dictates the line moves.
Okay.
People think they just even out the money on either side.
No.
That's incorrect.
Correct. And the Cowboys-Patriots game is a good example of that. It's all coming in on one side, but the line hasn't moved a whole lot off of where the original open was. So we'll get to that a little later.
We'll get to that. Sure. You fasten your seatbelt there, sir. I want your take on the Panthers and the Vikings. Do you like it either way? Start with you, Jared.
I do think Carolina has a little bit of an edge at home. I don't like what I've seen from Minnesota finishing games. You might get McCaffrey back this week. That could move the line a half a point. Not a significant amount, but it could move the line a half a point. And I think there's some market-moving events for Minnesota that have been a little negative. We'll see if Dalvin Cook comes back this week. Again, that might be a wash. If McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook both come back, maybe it'll kind of cancel out the move in the other direction. Carolina's defense has been really good. Second in DVOA. Minnesota's better than I thought. Top 10 DVOA. That surprised me a little bit. It surprised me how well defensively they played last week, but Kirk Cousins and that offense continue to struggle with finding momentum. They could only put up, what was their final number against Detroit, where they scored like 17 points in that game?
It was 19-17.
They need to score more than 19 points against the Detroit Lions if they want to be taken seriously as an offense that's going to strike fear in the hearts of some teams. Carolina's defense is infinitely better than what they saw last week against Detroit. This is a good teaser spot for Carolina. Get them now to +7, +7.5. That is what interests me a little bit more than betting basically a coin flip line where I'm not getting any major value in either direction.
I'm with Jared at this point. The best bet is to have the Panthers as a teaser leg up to 7.5. Sam Darnold's not going to throw 3 picks again. They're not going to play that poorly like they did in the second. They're not going to get a punt blocked like they did against the Eagles. The Vikings have shown consistently that they're not a great team. They're a solid team. They stay in games. They're not going to put the Panthers away by 2 scores. I would take Carolina as a teaser leg like Jared up to 7.5 if you can get it like at 1.5 where I'm seeing it right now.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you were so excited, Jared, to talk about the Cowboys and the Patriots. Here we are, guys. Here we are.
I love this game.
Dallas Cowboys. We know they're 4-1 when you just look at the regular standings. In the world we're focused on, they are 5-0 against the spread. This time, they are a road favorite, taking on Bill Belichick's crew. Now, you got to keep this in mind. Dallas is 0-5 all time against a Bill Belichick.
Oh, thumbs up, Nugget.
Scoring less than 12 points per game. Now, Dallas is off the charts good right now, right? Number 2 in scoring this year, putting up 34 points a game. Number 2 in total yards. So this is a different Dallas offense that Belichick has to scheme against. With all that being said, Ross, what are you smelling here?
I like the Patriots and the points. It's too many points now at this point. And if I keep saying points, I'm going to lose my train of thought. But look, I like the Patriots. You know, they did not play great against the Texans. I know the Cowboys are on a roll. But again, the NFL has a funny way of kind of humbling people or, regressing to the mean, so to speak. I don't think the Cowboys go into New England and blow out the Patriots. I think it's a competitive game. I like what I'm seeing from Mac Jones. And I think there's a decent chance the Patriots win the game. But I just think the value right now, the line has finally been adjusted, okay? The Cowboys are 5-0 against the spread. This is the first week where it feels like the books are accounting for that, and the number is higher than you would have anticipated it being, which is when it's time to take New England.
Ross, 100% right. This is the first week where the sharps have also bet the Cowboys. Every other prior week, especially against the Eagles, against the Panthers, we saw those lines firm up against Dallas. This week, it has moved vigorously in Dallas's favor. And this is the second most interesting look-ahead line of the week. The most interesting one we'll get to a little later. Dallas -1 last week. And what did we see last week? I know New England struggled a little bit against Houston, but they came back and they put a lot of points on the board in the second half and they won that game. And what did we see from Dallas? Consistent, but the Giants lost how many players in that game? Punching guys, getting kicked out, injuries, Saquon, Daniel Jones. I mean, Dallas should have won that game by 3 scores, and they did. And now you're telling me that the line goes from -1 to -4.5 through 2 key numbers, 3 and 4. You're starting to see some Dallas buyback or some New England buyback, but from the sportsbook operators we talked to this week, it is all Dallas money. You're starting to get a little nibble on New England now at 4.5, but up to that point, all Dallas money. The public, just like NFL, funny way of getting humbled. Those two things go together. Just like the NFL lines have a funny way of humbling us, the public gets humbled too when they overreact to what they see. And I think this is the first week where the flood of money on Dallas is going to start to come back against them. And also, aren't the Patriots getting both their starting left tackle, left guard back from COVID? That's important to me. Offensive line matters in the NFL, so does injuries. I think Dallas is slightly more banged up than New England right now, and the line value just screams Patriots.
Earlier in the show, we talked about, the Arizona Cardinals are not going to go 17-0 this year. Can the same thing be said against the spread, Jared?
Yes, absolutely. Because the markets will balance themselves out. It's like any other market, just like the stock market, like Bitcoin. It goes up, it goes down. It never just keeps going up and up and up and up without a correction. And eventually the market will correct, usually after 5 weeks of getting pummeled. The sports books, they're pretty smart. That's why those casinos are tall, bright, and shiny out there in the desert for a reason. They will figure out a number that best suits Dallas. And this is the first time this week where, again, as Ross very astutely pointed out, it's moved to a point where everybody's buying in on the Cowboys. That's when you need to stop and say, I don't want to be like everybody else. Because when you fade the public in the NFL, when you find those contrarian spots, that's where the line value is. And that's just where the overall value is. Like when you're going shopping, you're not going to buy the overpriced dress. You're going to try to find it on sale, or the overpriced suit. You're going to try to buy it on sale, and that's when you get your discounts in the NFL betting markets.
Very good. Thank you for clearing that up.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to the Texans and the Colts, both coming off very, very tough losses. They both had double-digit leads. They were feeling good. I want to start off by saying, Ross, I want to hear something positive out of your mouth about Carson Wentz, who had a career game.
He played very well. He really did. I mean, he played one of his best games in a while. He still had that red zone fumble that hurt him, but it looks like he's getting better every week under Frank Reich, which I think is exactly, what the Colts were hoping for. That was a brutal loss for them, though. I mean, there's a huge difference between being 1-4 and 2-3. Mm-hmm. The only saving grace for the Colts right now is that the AFC South, it's still very winnable. I mean, in fact, if the Colts had won that game, I would almost think that they're like the favorite in the AFC South over the Titans. The Titans have some major problems on defense, on the O-line pass protection. But now they might be – now it's going to be tough for them to catch up to the Titans. They obviously have to win this game. I think they will win this game, but I'm surprised that the number's this high. That's a lot of points against a solid Texans bunch. Davis Mills played very well against Bill Belichick and company. Now the Colts, coming off that heartbreak short week Monday night, they're going to beat the Texans by double digits. I don't see it. Give me the Texans and the points.
Really tough to lay that many points with Carson Wentz. And Davis Mills, to me, that was one of the biggest prizes of Sunday, was Davis Mills, 300 yards, 3 tutties against Bill Belichick, who's like the rookie demon. I mean, He just eats rookie quarterbacks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that was one of the bigger surprises to me this week. All of the bookmakers were very down on Davis Mills, a little less down on him this week, but the number hasn't caught up yet because the Texans haven't really had that finishing kick. They've struggled down the stretch of games, especially. And I would say the 10 is a good number. I would assume this closes at 9. And I think the injuries to Indy's secondary is a big reason why. Xavier Rhodes and Andrew Sendejo, concussion protocol. Don't know if they'll play. They might play, but that's important. And those are the types of injuries that can turn Davis Mills from a mediocre quarterback to slightly above average, which would be enough to cover this line.
By the way, the Colts, our producer extraordinaire Jack just chimed in that the Colts moved to plus 270 to win the AFC South. They were at plus 450 last week.
Because the other two teams keep losing. So it goes from a 4-team race to officially a 2-team race now. Cuts a little bit of the equity out of the market.
Got it. By the way, I haven't checked the true over-under line on the length in inches of Davis Mills' neck, but I think the over-under has been set at 8.
Over.
He's in rarefied Mike Glennon territory.
I mean, it's crazy.
Listen, I'm not a big fan of pointing out people's large body things, okay?
Head, neck.
I mean, my head takes up the whole screen right here.
I don't have a neck.
Let's not.
I could use some neck, implants from Davis because I go right from head to shoulders. I feel like
he still needs it. You know who you should call? Call Merton Hanks. He's got plenty, and he doesn't play anymore.
No,
spin it up on YouTube. I'm telling you, go watch Merton Hanks, number 36, defensive back.
I remember
Ross back in the day when he used to pick it off and then he'd do the dance.
He did what?
It was bad. It hit a big neck, hit a long neck, but the dance made it so much more pronounced.
It was almost like he was Gumby, like one of those. It was crazy.
Okay, can we get back to the task at hand? Great. Now this is what's next on the schedule. Good producing, Jack. And now all of a sudden we got to get serious with the Raiders at the Broncos.
Ooh.
And for the second straight week, we have to talk about a coaching issue, and this is a major serious stuff here, where John Gruden resigned earlier in the week after the disclosure of several emails over a several-year span that he sent to Washington executive Bruce Allen. We don't have to get into what was inside of those emails. We know about it. Now the question is, Ross, how does this impact the locker room when you thought John Gruden may have been one thing and now you're finding out he's another, and now 5 weeks into the season – where you started 3-0, your hands are in the air, and you're like, what are we doing?
So you go one of two ways, both individually and collectively. So individually, there will be guys that'll be like, oh, man, there's going to be a lot of changes here, and I want to either still be here or I want to make sure that if I'm not here with the changes that I have a spot to go somewhere else. There will be guys like I was that will grind even more and prepare even harder, if anything, to make sure that they put their best foot forward so that they can keep a job. There will be other guys that they'll just realize there's going to be a lot of changes, and these guys that are here now, they're not going to be the coach, and their preparation will slip a little bit. And I've seen that firsthand. I've talked about it here on Pickswise Playbook before. It happens. So we'll see what happens with the Raiders. I don't know. They could rally around this. And sometimes when there's an interim coach, you get like a short-term bump.
Yep.
Rarely seems sustained, which is why this is a stay-away game for me. There's too much uncertainty to know how they're going to react to it for me to put my hard-earned cash on this game.
According to the odds makers, a coaching change has no impact on the line. It really didn't have an impact this week. Now, that being said, it's impossible to say that won't impact the outcome of this Sunday's game. Now, the coaching staff in Vegas has been relatively consistent over the last few years, which is good. That's a positive thing. I know the offensive coordinator's been under Gruden for a long time, and I think they promoted the special teams coach, who's been under Gruden for a few years, to the interim spot. Yeah, so there is consistency there. So operationally, game planning, I don't think it's going to make a huge impact on the operation of how the game is conducted on Sunday. But emotionally is the hardest. It's the hardest part, and Ross can speak to this. To me, the hardest part of what I do, especially on the numbers side, is to try to get inside the minds of these players. And we tried to do it last week with Jacksonville. I thought the Jaguars didn't show much, flatness. Right. I thought they played relatively well. I just think Tennessee played better. I would assume that a lot of players in that locker room probably knew some of the, insecurities going on with John Gruden and maybe didn't like him a lot. So those guys might play better, but there might be guys on the other side of it too that did like him and might play worse. Very hard to gauge, very volatile situation. Probably best to stay away.
If you're just looking at it from this standpoint, and we're talking about interim coaches and not the situations that they were put in, because this one is so off the board wacky. But last year, there were 3 interim coaches. They all won their first game. Darrell Bevell in Detroit, Romeo Crennel in Houston, Raheem Morris in Atlanta. They all won it. I don't know. I
wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders won this game. That's because the Broncos really aren't playing that well either, which is more of an indictment on Denver, I think, than anything with Vegas.
Okay. Just wanted to throw that out there. I thought that was a good nugget.
It was. Thumbs up.
I'm waiting, Ross.
Good nugget, Chris. Thumbs up.
I needed
somebody
needs
validation.
I did. I needed it for my. I'll give you a whole laundry list of teachers from elementary school. There's a whole bit of them. That's okay. You know what? I'm done looking your direction, Ross. I'm done.
Come to me, Chris. It's okay. I got plenty of love to give out.
Thumbs up. I gave you the validation.
A couple of teams that need our validation after the way they lost last week are the Bengals and the Lions. Oof. Cincinnati, a road favorite here. Both lost on field goals, Cincinnati in overtime, the Dan Campbell stuff. Real quickly, Ross, I want your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
About a coach pouring out his heart after the game, because we don't see it very often unless it involves like an injured player or something like that. This was strictly about a loss. What did you think?
Loved it. Love that guy. And it's because he was a former player. It's because he knows how much time these guys are putting in. Yes, they do it because they're getting paid. But you have to understand, like, these are 12-hour days all week, and then you're laying it all on the line mentally, emotionally, physically, and you want that reward of the win. I mean, you play to win the game. Hello, Jared, that's your ex-coach. Hello.
I love that line.
Play to win the game. Like, it is a hard sport. I know my junior and senior year of college, we went 3-7 both years, and it's really tough. I mean, it's the only time
would you go
I'm in college. The only time I'd go out after the game. What's that?
I said, would you go against the spread? That's all I care about.
I can look it up. I'll look it up for next week.
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
One quick aside, my first game as a freshman, I was on the field goal extra point team and the punt team. And I'm 18 years old. I just graduated 3 months earlier or whatever. And my dad calls me up during the week and he's like, hey, Ross, you guys are favored against Cornell. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, if I give you the signal, let your guy block the punt.
Oh if you think those conversations don't happen amongst a lot of players and their families, you'd be shocked. I'm sure.
Okay. He was kidding, obviously, but it was just funny to think.
I'm not hearing this.
It was just funny to think at 18 years old that, like, people were betting on what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that I could control it in some realm. It was just kind of funny. They used to always have the Ivy League lines, like with the FBS lines. It's funny. Anyway, I loved what Dan Campbell said, and I think that ingratiates him with the players even more. He is there with them. He wants them to get the reward. He wants their hard work to pay off because I think he feels like he's got a good group of guys that are giving them everything he has. They don't have a great team, but they're giving him everything. I mean, you got DeAndre Swift running dudes over. I mean, they're pouring it out there. He wants them to win a game, and I actually think they got a pretty good chance against the Bengals. Look, the Lions are due. Okay, the Lions are due for a win. They've been right there, the Ravens game, the Vikings game. And I feel like the Bengals, they let it all out against the Packers, man. That was a huge statement game for the Bengals. Huge difference between 4-1 and 3-2. Can you imagine if the Bengals were 4-1 coming off a win over the Packers? That'd be the most we'd be talking about the Bengals in years. And I think this game could go either way. But you're going to give me 3.5 points? You're going to give me more than a field goal? Even if the Lions lose, I think it's a field goal game. It's one of my favorite plays this week. And I found out, according to our rundown, that I'm going head-to-head against Jared. I like it even more, okay? I love
sure about that? We check the records. Might be, I don't know. You might want to amend that. All right, I'll say this. 3 is better than 3.5, obviously. I got it at 3 earlier in the week. It was a look ahead of 3.5. And you're right, the initial reopening was a little bit tighter at 3 because of how well Detroit has played and because of, I don't want to call it a bad game for the Bengals, but certainly a bad result. I will say this, though. The public is really starting to buy in on this Detroit narrative. They love Dan Campbell, too. And you're seeing a lot of people start to buy in, but the line moved off of 3, and now it's back to 3.5. Slight reverse line movement. Not heavy because it's not a very highly publicly bet game. Slight reverse line movement towards Cincinnati, which means the public's on one side and the line's slightly moving in the other direction off of a key number, which is, noteworthy. here's the thing that really scares me about this game. There are no moral victories in the NFL. You know that, Ross. You can be so happy and filled with joy and excitement for a certain guy or a certain team or a certain coach, but at the end of the day, it's a results business. And the numbers do not speak very kindly on this Lions team. They are a brutal team against, all the defensive metric numbers say that. Yards per play, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. The Bengals are on the opposite side of that coin, top 10 in both of those categories. And you're telling me that I get Chase and Burrow and all the other weapons that Cincinnati has, Boyd and Higgins and all those guys against the Lions defense that really struggles on a fast track at Ford Field, and I'm only laying a field goal? I think that's the way I'm going to go here.
I'm merely a numbers guy, so don't shoot the messenger here. Jared is 2-0 when Ross is on the other side of his bet.
No, wait, no, he got one right. I was wrong on the Niners-Packers one. He got me on that one. I was on the Niners. He had the Packers that night. So maybe the numbers are right. There you go, 2-1.
Jared is 2-1.
See, I give you credit, Ross.
Side of his bet.
I love knowing that our producer Jack is he is dialed in. He's focused. He is.
He had some great nuggets in the rundown. I didn't even get to the one in one of the Cardinals Browns game about the Baker Mayfield revenge angle.
I forgot about that. Oh, I'm going to use that all week. I saw that too.
Tremendous
that was awesome.
Angle.
Jack's the man.
Love it.
What, with the Cliff Kingsbury stuff?
Love it.
We've moved on from that. He's already played the Cardinals once. That's why it's not. If it was the first time, I'd be like, yes. The Browns lost out in Arizona. They got dusted out there. That was the game where supposedly there were reports that OBJ and Jarvis Landry were coming up to the Cardinals and be like, I want to come play with you. I want out of here. This was the whole Freddie.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So let's move on. Jack, I'm not going to give you plus 2 points on that one. Tried to sneak that one in on me, a Cleveland fan. Ain't going to happen here on Pickswise Playbook. All right. I hope the scoreboard operator is ready Sunday in Washington, because the Chiefs and the Washington football team are the bottom two teams in scoring. Two worst scoring defenses in the NFL. Washington, what the heck is going on here? Jared, give me some clarity. Where are you going with this? You staying away from it? What do you like?
I have no idea what's going on in this Washington defensive room. I don't know if it's the scheme. I don't know if it's how they're addressed. I don't know. I'm not a matchups guy. That's more Ross's domain. But something's wrong because the numbers are very bad, and they were really good last year. And it is a massive drop-off in the production from this Washington defense. But that being said, you want to talk about bad defenses. The Chiefs are hold my beer. I don't know what's going on in Kansas City either, but Spags needs to figure it out really quick because they could just get blown right off the map and out of the playoff picture completely if they don't turn things around defensively. And I know they have Patrick Mahomes. That's fine. But if you're giving up 30, 35 points a game, you're going to get beat a lot of weeks in the NFL. And that needs to change. So I think Kansas City in a teaser here works for me, getting it from 7-1. All the public's on Kansas City. My guess is this closes at 7.5. That's what I'm hearing. I didn't confirm that today with my midweek sportsbook rounds that I make, but they hinted at it's early in the week, but all the action's coming in on Kansas City so far. So we'll see about 7.5. I would not be surprised to see 7 on the hook by Sunday. If that's the case, I would say Washington will be the sharper side for me.
I like the Chiefs as a teaser. What I'm seeing right now as we talk and record this is -6.5. So you tease them down to -0.5 a point. All you have to do is win the game. And in fact, I've got them in a teaser this week with the Bucs in the Thursday night game. I have a tough time picturing the Chiefs losing this game. I mean, I saw what they did to the Eagles after they lost to the Ravens. I don't think the Chiefs are losing to Washington. And to answer your question, the D-line's not as dominant as they thought they'd be, and the secondary for Washington's a mess. I mean, they have a Hail Mary. They don't even jump for it. Nobody covers Deontay Harris on like an 80-yard bomb. They're a mess. We're not far away from Jack Del Rio losing play calling duties.
Oh, boy. Hate to hear that. By the way, the Chiefs, they're pissed off. They're coming off their worst regular season loss with Patrick Mahomes as their starting quarterback. He had never lost by more than 8 points in a single game.
Wow.
Lost by 18 for the entire world to see on Sunday Night Football by a team a lot of people think is the best one in football, the Buffalo Bills. So they're going to come out for some revenge. Just my 2 cents as I move on to London for the second straight week. We entertained them with a rookie quarterback. Last week, Zach Wilson, not good. Atlanta won. This week, we're sending over Tua Tagovailoa, who we think is going to play, and the kid, Trevor Lawrence. I'm keeping tabs on what Urban Meyer is doing after the game, but that's me.
He's going to a pub, some fish and chips.
I don't think this is the game where he'll stay in the city after the game. I think he's going to get back on that plane.
It's like one of those Southwest commercials, want to get away? The best thing for Urban Meyer right now is to leave the country for a week. Honestly, I think that's pretty settled right now.
They got a bye after this. So we know what he does on a mini bye. Can't wait to see. I mean, it's a true European vacation on the full bye coming up.
Listen, a lot of people forget this. Urban Meyer's never lost in London. Okay, he's never lost a game in London. People forget that. I like the Jags getting 3.5. Now I'm seeing it's down to 3. I got the Jags when they were getting 3.5. I think whether Tua plays or not, I don't think he's really 100%. That's tough injury to come back from with the ribs. Yeah. And I said it before, the Jags are not good. They've lost 20 in a row. And I know that they tell you to keep going with those trends. They're not that bad. The Dolphins are pretty bad. I don't know what – speaking of the defense, I don't know what happened to the Dolphins' defense. I think the Jags have a great chance to win the game. If you can get 3.5 like I did, take the Jags.
The Dolphins' defensive numbers have been really bad. Way worse than I expected. We knew the Jaguars' defense was going to be bad. Was not expecting the Dolphins' defense right here giving up 6 yards per play this year. That's a dividing line of a bad defense. If you're giving up more than 6 yards per play, you're a bad defense. And so they're right on that cusp. And the Miami offense, it's curious. The line actually is kind of moved against Tua in a sense, where now that it's Tua being announced, Ross is right. I'm seeing more movement back towards Jacksonville from 3.5 to 3, which is interesting. I don't think either quarterback presents a deep threat challenge, especially without, I believe Parker is out this week for the Dolphins, which is big. One of their big receivers. If it's not Parker, it's the other one, but I believe it is Parker. And that if there's no deep stretch, deep field, threat for this Jacksonville team to have to worry about, I would say Trevor Lawrence is the better quarterback of the whoever's going to start for Miami this week. He's shown you some flashes. He made some throws against Cincinnati that were tremendous. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Jags went in and got a win. 3-0, definitely worth the play.
The only team to have a longer losing streak in the Super Bowl era than the Jags at 20, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took them a season and plus to get win. 26 straight they lost out of the gate. Ooh, that's rough. That is really rough. By the way, if the Jags win in London, does it really count in the States?
Stats count. That Falcons-Jets game counted against my record last week when I picked the Jets, so it counts.
Okay. Sunday Night Football. Well, it looked tasty when they put it on the schedule. If this would have happened in Week 14, this thing would have been moved out, flexed so quickly. Not that kind of flex. The Sunday night NBC flex, which is more powerful than Rose's muscles. So Geno Smith is making his first start. Anybody remember the last start he made in the NFL?
For the Jets?
Nope.
2016 or 2017.
Yes. Do you remember what team he was with? I even forgot he played for him. I got to be honest with you.
My Geno Smith trivia is not great after he left the Jets.
Started for the Giants. He replaced
Eli Manning. That's right. That's
the Raiders?
right. Did they win that game?
No.
I forgot that Geno went from the Jets to the Giants.
I know. Anybody that's walking around right now with a Geno Smith Giants jersey, send in a photo to Pickswise Playbook.
Legend.
I promise you. He actually looked good, I thought, replacing Russell Wilson, who's missing the first game of his career. He had 149 consecutive starts, but now this is a different animal. They got to go on the road. Pittsburgh can smell getting back to 500, and then they're back in the playoff picture all of a sudden. Ross, what do you do with this game?
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points with the Steelers. I think Sunday night they're preparing for Geno all week. TJ Watt and the boys get after him. Seattle's defense is really bad. I don't know what's happened to them. I think Russell Wilson has bailed out Pete Carroll for years. I think Pete Carroll is, quite frankly, about to get exposed. I don't think Geno Smith is ready for this. I think I would lay the points with the Steelers.
So remember earlier when we were talking about the Cowboys-Patriots game, I said it's the second most interesting look-ahead line of the week. This is the most interesting look-ahead movement of the week. We go from Seattle -2.5 to Pittsburgh -5. That is a 7.5 point move. The question you have to ask yourself is Russell Wilson worth 7.5 points over Geno Smith? Nothing else has changed from Sunday to now. The answer to that question to me is absolutely not.
Absolutely not?
Russell Wilson's not worth 7.5 points over Geno Smith. I would say it's maybe 3 or 4 max. I don't see it moving that many points because of just Geno Smith to Russell Wilson or vice versa. I just when you look at Geno Smith, again, I'm not praising what he did with the Jets. I watched those games; they were brutal. But everyone grows, everyone improves off of some of the mental mistakes that he made. He's a 9-year veteran. He's played in Seattle's offense now, same system for 3 years. Last I checked, he still has DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. He should be getting back Chris Carson this week. Pittsburgh's defense has been bad against the numbers. Seattle's defense has been bad too, no doubt about that. But if you were going to ask me, is Big Ben capable without Juju to exploit what is a bad Seahawks defense to the tune of beating the Seahawks by a touchdown? I would say no, based on what we've seen from Big Ben this year. I would say I'm kind of going south on Big Ben, where Geno's more of an unknown. It's a volatile situation. Obviously, he could blow up and throw a million picks. But if you're going to tell me 7.5 points was the quality of what the sports books are valuing Russell Wilson over Geno Smith, I would say that's too many, and I'm going to take Seattle here.
I like it. You're on opposite sides. I love it. It's fun.
We have 2 of those this week.
By the way, the Steelers did score a season-high 27 last week in their win.
They did.
Against a pretty good defense in Denver. I know that they've got some injury issues, but it's still Denver. It's a better defense than Seattle. Just want to throw that in there. Can't wait to see how you guys do against one another this week. That's fun. Monday nighter, Buffalo, which just dismantled Kansas City on Sunday Night Football, at the Titans, who, they won last week in Jacksonville, but they're just kind of ho-hum. Their defense stinks. They feel like, like when I watch the Tennessee Titans, I'm like, okay, cool. Derrick Henry's running for 1 billion yards, and other than that, I don't have much for you. In the meantime, the Bills, they've won 4 in a row, all by at least 18 points. Does that do anything for you, Jared?
Good luck finding anybody who wants to bet Tennessee in this game. That's where the percentages, the early splits are. Again, being at a Monday game, usually you'll get more action Sunday night, Monday morning after the dust settles. So we'll probably see more public money on Buffalo likely Sunday night, Monday morning. And I would expect this line to close nowhere south of 6. And it moved pretty significantly off the look ahead, which I believe was 3.5. So I don't have a play on this game. Very tough to fade Buffalo after their best game and, their most impactful win in years. And I would probably stay away. But if the value says anything, that if the Titans get to 7, right, they're at home in prime time, I would say that's the only way you can play this from a betting perspective, because everybody's going to be backing the Bills as a road favorite this week.
Look, I love my Bills, but I think you can only look at Tennessee in this game. It just feels like a letdown spot for the Bills. I know it's Monday Night Football, but they're so full of it that the Chiefs game was just another game. They would not have had Josh Allen run the ball that much if it was just another game. So if you can get that many points, I would only lean Tennessee, but it's a no play for me.
No play. Okay. Teaser time, then we'll hit tonight's game, the Thursday nighter. Ross, give it to us. Are you doing your usual pairing thing again?
No, I'm not doing the round robin. That has been terrible for me the last 2 weeks, and there's not enough games I like to do that with. I just got KC -1.5. Now you can get them for -0.5 as we're recording it now, and then Tampa -0.5 point. Those would be my 2 pair. I just have a tough time picturing the Chiefs and Bucks losing this week.
Not a great teaser week. Some weeks are better than others. If that Rams-Giants line would have been 9 and you get it to 3, I would have been interested. But it's not. It's 11, and then I would be shocked if it closed anywhere even close to single digits. So Panthers and Chiefs for me is the way to go. Panthers to 7, 7.5. Chiefs to 1, or pick them basically. I do not see Carolina getting blown out at home. I think Sam Darnold will have some positive regression. The special teams plays, give credit to Philly. They made plays in that game, whereas I think Carolina played well enough to win but didn't. And even so, that game was still within a touchdown. And I think the Eagles are going to provided a much stiffer challenge than I think Minnesota will this week. And the Chiefs, I don't see them losing. Tough to lay points with the Chiefs considering their defense, but I just do not see Kansas City losing a game as long as Patrick Mahomes can touch it last. But I'm worried about the Chiefs defense. And if they do lose this week, heads are going to roll. Things are going to get very interesting if they lose to this Washington team. People are going to be seriously doubting the Chiefs as even a team that can make the playoffs this year.
All right, finally, let's get to tonight's game. The champs are on the road, right around laying a touchdown. I don't know if Ross Tucker has been invited to the game in Philadelphia or if he'll be attending tonight. Yay, nay?
Calling the game for Westwood One. I'll be on the call tonight. Yeah.
Ooh.
Congrats. Can't wait to listen. I'll have to mute the TV and put your...
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, so I know this is the team you cover in the preseason, the Eagles. Nice come-from-behind win on the road at Carolina last week. Different animal with Tom Brady as the guy who has the most passing yards in the NFL this season coming to town, even though he's got a bum thumb.
Yeah, I mean, they won the game. They blocked the punt. They got 3 picks. The Panthers' O-line's not very good. Darnold did not play very well. I think this is really simple. I mean, first of all, I think the Bucs are going to win the game, which is why I teased them down to minus half a point. But I think minus 6.5, I'd probably lean to the Tampa Bay Bucs. Brady is just on fire right now. 7 or 7.5, then the lean goes the other way to the Eagles. It's that important of a number.
Agreed. Everyone's on Tampa Bay. No surprise. But maybe a little surprise because Philly, again, they've been we've talked about Philly to a lot of bookmakers this year. They are the enigma wrapped in the riddle. They're such a good team moving the ball. Their defense has played really well at times, but they've struggled in some of the key moments and they've struggled to score, finishing off drives and having drives scored against them. They were able to get over that hump, though, on Sunday because they had a few of those fluky plays go in their direction. So that's the way. It's an oblong-shaped ball. It could bounce in either direction, and Philly's kind of been one of those very volatile teams this year. That being said, if you're giving me a full 7 at home, Tom Brady's got thumb problems, and the Bucs secondary is in shambles. That is a storyline to watch as we move on in the season, because what's the one thing I think you need to be buttoned up more on any part of the defensive side of the ball? If your secondary is getting gashed and there is separation with receivers, that is going to lead to big plays and touchdowns going against you. So that's something to keep an eye on for Tampa Bay. If Philly can control the tempo, keep Brady on the sidelines, and take advantage of that weak secondary, I think getting a full 7 at home with Philly on a Thursday night, I think that would be the way to go.
By the way, something fun to play tonight. Tom Brady averaging 353 passing yards per game. Over-under for him is right around 295-ish. Seems like it. Why wouldn't you go over? Although, does the thumb concern anybody? Give me 15 or 20 seconds on
It's not really the thumb. Eagles are 3rd in the NFL. They allow less than 200 yards passing a game. They play a lot of split safety, 2 deep safeties. They basically beg you to run the ball and throw it underneath, which is why it makes it a little bit harder to get. I think that's why the number is where it is.
Got it.
Yeah. Darius Slay would scare me too than anything else. He's been playing really well.
By the way, Tom Brady, we always talk about in baseball, pitchers on short rest. Brady's on short rest this week. He is 9-1 all time.
Did they lose last year in Chicago, right? That was the game where he did the...
Yeah. That was the only loss. Other than that, he's been great on Thursday Night Football and playing on Thanksgiving, where I think he's 3-0.
So he's on a 1-game losing streak on Thursday night is what you're saying.
You want to go that direction with a guy who's got a fistful of rings and then some? You Jared. You
never doubt Tom Brady. He is a modern marvel. What he's done at this age, bookmakers are wowed at how in shape and how good he looks.
All right, let's have a little fun. Anytime touchdown scorer. Jared, you go first. Ross, you follow up.
DeVonta Smith. I think he's in the top 10 of air yards percentage-wise to his team, which is surprising because other receivers have had really good years. And he's, air yards wise, which means, ball thrown down the field. He's making some plays. And I think he's due for one of those big breakout games. And, I would say against this secondary, why not?
All right. So I've got 2 on the Eagles side I like. I like to go big with these, right? Like I like to try to go for the long shots. Kenneth Gainwell.
Whoa,
what's the frequency? Kenny G. This guy is a stud. The rookie from Memphis. He's plus 360. He could easily score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you another one. How about Jack Stoll? You don't even know who that is.
No idea. Never heard of him.
That's the Eagles' third string tight end, undrafted rookie from Nebraska.
Love
Dallas Goedert on the COVID list, will not play.
So
Stoll becomes the backup tight end. So at plus 700, they'll probably throw it to Ertz, but the Bucs know that. So maybe Stoll can steal you a big swing touchdown, plus 700. Jack stole your wife.
I thought we were going to go just a little pinch between your cheek and gum. Oh, wait, that's skull. My bad.
Nice.
That was
save that for the baseball shows, right?
No. That was the Earl Campbell ad back.
That's right.
In the old days.
I would throw out Jalen Hurts too, just because the Thursday night quarterback touchdowns have been so prominent. I probably don't feel as strong about Brady, but you never know. The 1 yard sneaks have been his thing. So 6-1, that's not a bad number, but definitely Hurts at plus 150. And how about this, Ross? Greg Ward, what's his deal with the Eagles offense? He was such a big part of their offense last year. I feel like I haven't heard his name a whole lot this year. What have you seen with Greg Ward?
Winner.
That certainly does it. But you still got to have more than one receiver on the field, right? That can produce.
It's not. I mean, Greg Ward, they bring him in to set the picks. Him and JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
So stay away from those guys. But I feel like I heard his name a lot last year in Eagles games, and I haven't really heard much from him this year.
Yeah, he's not one of their three guys. They got Quez Watkins in the slot.
Yeah, they like Watkins a lot.
Okay. Well, that'll do it. Wow, another fun week, guys. Good energy, as always. Few quick reminders for everybody out there. Go download the Pickswise app. It just makes it easy. You put it on your phone. It covers it all. It's not just football. Covers, we still got the baseball playoffs. College football is in the middle of the season. Hockey has started. The NBA is right around the corner. So whatever you want to dabble in, let Pickswise help you out there. It's on your mobile device. It can do your thing. Also, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. We've got updates all the time. Like our YouTube channel. Hit the old thumbs up that Ross wouldn't give me on any of my good host nuggets today. Subscribe. That doesn't mean you're paying for anything when you subscribe. It's a free subscription. It just means that you'll always get updated on what we're talking about, because these guys kind of know what they're talking about. It's that simple. Fair enough. Anything else, gentlemen, before we get out of here?
Tremendous.
No, good luck, everybody, except for Jared on those two games we're head-to-head.
Good morning to everybody except for Ross Tucker. Good afternoon. Good night. Good luck.
Okay. Guys, thanks very much for watching Pickswise Playbook. Now go out and win some dough.